The courtroom was silent before the judge spoke. Not ordinary quiet. The kind of silence where every person in the room already knew the sentence about to come would travel far beyond the building. At the front, papers covered the long wooden desk. Lawyers stood still. Reporters leaned forward. City officials did not move. Then the federal judge looked down at the final page and said the words that changed everything connected to Rikers Island. The current system has failed to protect people in custody and staff inside the jail. No one interrupted. Because everyone understood what came next. 4 years, reports had described violence, delayed medical response, missed supervision, and dangerous housing conditions inside New York City's jail complex. Now federal control over reform was no longer just a warning. It was becoming real. Independent oversight would move beyond reports and into direct power over how change happened. At the same moment those words were spoken downtown, inside Rikers Island, officers in one housing unit were already dealing with another emergency. A loud crash echoed through a corridor just after afternoon movement. 2 detainees from Brooklyn had started fighting near a stair gate. Another detainee from the Bronx shouted from behind locked bars. An officer hit the alarm. The steel door halfway down the unit locked automatically. But one door did not close all the way. That small failure mattered. Because a third detainee slipped through the gap before officers reached the scene. And in the control room, one camera froze on the exact frame when he disappeared. No one inside that control room yet knew the judge had just spoken. But before evening, those 2 moments, one in court, one inside the jail, would begin to connect. The day had started much earlier. Cold morning wind crossed the East River and moved over the bridge toward the island. Court buses rolled in from every borough. Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. Some detainees came from hearings. Some from overnight arrests. Some from transfer orders after missed appearances in court. Marcus Green came from Brooklyn that morning. 25 years old. Arrested after violating parole tied to an older robbery case. He had been inside city custody before, but never for long enough to learn how fast Rikers could change from quiet to dangerous. He sat by the narrow bus window watching grey water outside while another detainee from Queens tapped nervous fingers against the seat. No one talked much. Everyone knew where they were going. At intake, officers moved fast because too many arrivals came at once. Names called. Paper checked. Wristbands printed. One officer kept repeating, "Stay in line." Marcus noticed how tired every officer looked. Not angry. Just exhausted. Officer Daniel Harper had worked 2 overtime shifts already that week. He signed transfer forms without looking up fully because radios kept interrupting him. He knew staffing shortages had changed almost every routine. One officer now covered duties once handled by 2. One delay caused another. Inside intake, Harper overheard another officer mention court news quietly. "They say federal people are coming stronger this time." No one answered. That sentence stayed hanging in the room. Marcus was assigned to a housing unit that already held detainees from the Bronx and Brooklyn mixed together because space had shifted after earlier incidents. That mixing happened often now. Not because it was ideal. Because available beds decided more than classification plans. His new cellmate was Tyler Ross from the Bronx. Tyler had been waiting weeks for court dates to move. He knew the unit already. "Watch the stair gate," Tyler said as Marcus entered the cell. Marcus looked confused. "Why?" Tyler leaned closer to the bars. "It jams when alarms hit." That sounded small. But small things mattered inside Rikers. A low stretch followed. Lunch trays. Metal benches. The long slow hum of fluorescent lights. Marcus learned names around him. Aaron Cole from Queens in cell 12. Leon Baker from Brooklyn in cell 14. Chris Moore from the Bronx near the lower tier. Everyone had a story outside. Inside, those stories became less important than daily rhythm, counts, meals, movement, waiting. Officer Harper worked the upper desk during afternoon count. He checked door locks one by one and noticed the stair gate sensor blinking again. That gate had shown errors twice that week. Maintenance had marked it pending. Still waiting. Harper radioed control. No answer for several minutes. That also happened too often. At 1:30 p.m., one detainee asked for medical because of chest pain. Escort delayed. At 2:05 p.m., another detainee asked for legal call access. Delayed again. Every small delay built quiet frustration. Marcus saw it in faces before he heard it in voices. Tyler sat on the lower bunk watching officers more than inmates. "You hear about the judge?" Tyler asked quietly. Marcus shook his head. Tyler said, "People saying federal court finally taking over how they fix this place." Marcus looked toward the desk. "Can they fix it?" Tyler gave no answer. Because at that exact moment, officers near the desk suddenly stood straighter after hearing something on radio. Harper listened hard. A short message came through. "Court order issued. More oversight incoming. Hold current logs." Harper looked toward the corridor. The jail around him looked exactly the same, but somehow felt different already. The low tension broke slowly through the afternoon. A detainee from Queens argued over phone time. Another from Brooklyn refused lock-in for 5 extra minutes. Nothing extreme. But voices rose faster than usual. Staff moved slower because there were fewer staff to move quickly. At 3:40 p.m., Harper checked the stair gate again. Still blinking. He pushed it once. The metal clicked but did not fully reset. He wrote it down. Because written notes mattered when systems failed. By late afternoon, clouds darkened outside. Inside, rec time began in short groups. Marcus and Tyler stood near the dayroom wall while Chris from the Bronx told a story about court delays. Aaron from Queens leaned near the stair gate. Leon sat alone. Then the first shove happened. Fast enough that only nearby detainees saw it clearly. 2 detainees from Brooklyn argued over a seat near the phone. One pushed. The other answered immediately. Officers moved in. That should have ended there. Instead, someone near lower tier shouted another name. Then a third detainee joined. The unit changed in seconds. Harper hit alarm. The stair gate dropped automatically. Almost. But Tyler had been right. The gate jammed halfway. A narrow gap stayed open. That was all one detainee needed. A young Bronx detainee slipped through before officers reached him. Gone down the side passage. Harper cursed and called control. The camera near that angle froze at the exact wrong second. One frozen frame. Then delayed movement. The control room operator hit refresh twice. Still frozen. Harper ran toward the side passage while another officer separated the first fight. Marcus stayed at bars watching. Because inside Rikers, once one system failed, people expected another to fail too. Harper entered the side passage and found the stairwell door partly open. That should not have happened either. No officer had unlocked it. The Bronx detainee had vanished downward. The stairwell lights flickered once. Then twice. Harper radioed again. This time control answered. Camera feed lost for 6 seconds. 6 seconds inside Rikers could hide everything. Back upstairs, officers regained control of the first fight. No one badly injured. But paperwork had already begun. And now federal court news spread faster through staff radios. One supervisor entered the unit carrying printed notice from central office. Independent management orders were being discussed immediately. Stronger outside control. New reporting demands. Emergency failures under direct review. Harper barely heard half of it because he kept staring at the stairwell door. Open. Still open. Then Tyler from inside cell 11 called out. "Officer! He ain't in the stairs now." Harper turned. "What?" Tyler pointed toward lower corridor. A detainee stood there now, same Bronx detainee who had slipped through the jammed gate. But he had returned holding something folded in his hand. Paper. Not weapon. Paper. He looked toward Harper and said quietly, "Somebody downstairs told me this was for the captain." Then he dropped the folded note on the floor. Harper picked it up carefully. Only one sentence was written inside. They knew before the judge did. Before Harper could read it twice, every light in the unit flickered hard enough to darken the whole corridor for 1 full second. And when power returned, the stair gate finally slammed shut. With one officer trapped on the wrong side.